Have you ever heard about people going on about Bitcoin decentralization? What does decentralization even mean, and does it have any value for you? I'm going to be explaining why you need to know about how decentralization affects your life in today's episode of Bitcoin Zombie Investor.
You can still enjoy this one.
Use the bilateral.
Welcome back to Bitcoin Zombie Investor, everyone, the channel where we know no matter how many times Bitcoin gets sent to the grave, so to speak, it will always find a way to crawl and claw its way back to life. We are chilling out and taking a seat, and we are talking Bitcoin on the bag today, folks. If you're the kind of person looking in on today's video at the ambiance that we are bringing to your presence and to your day today, and you like the idea of learning more about cryptocurrency, investing, and just overall wealth mindset, as well as how it really looks to live a true life of financial freedom and passive income, make sure you do give a massive like to the video. Make sure you do hit that button and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you do hit that little notification bell so you are aware of when new videos are dropping out on to the channel. Also guys, there is going to be a lot of value in today's video. I'm going to be providing a lot of value today, so I would really appreciate it if you spent the time and just watch the video all the way to the end. And if you do, I'll make sure that I do my very best to leave one whole Bitcoin underneath your pillow tonight. Nick Szabo quotes, "Decentralization is what allows Bitcoin to substitute an army of computers for an army of lawyers, investigators, and accountants." I love that quote. Before I start talking to you about what decentralized finance actually means, let's start by understanding what centralized finance actually means. An example of third-party centralized finance could be your bank, for example. Let's run out a little scenario. I want to send John $10 from my bank, being Bank A, to John's bank, being Bank B. To do that in the traditional finance world, or finance 1.0 as I like to call it, I would need to notify my private bank, who is the third party and who is the centralized finance part of this equation. And by doing that, my bank would then update a private ledger, which essentially keeps a record of how much US dollars I have actually got in my bank account at any one time. Once I say to my bank that I want to send my mate John to Bank B, $10, my bank will then say, "No worries, Earl, we can send John $10. All we need to do is update it on our private ledger, and then we have to tell John's bank at Bank 2 to also do the same thing, and they will do the same thing once they receive the funds from my account. The $10 leaves my account, the $10 goes to John's account. Everyone's happy, right?" This clear example of money leaving Bank A to John's bank at Bank B is, well, a clear example of traditional finance, and it is all based around a centralized system. The US dollar currency is a fiat currency, just like Great British pounds or the yen, for example. These are all fiat currencies. They are centralized fiat government currencies that are sent typically from one person's bank to another, whether that's overseas or in the same country. This traditional and old school way of banking that, in my personal opinion, will become obsolete in the next 10 to 20 years is typically trusted, and they typically have your best interests at heart, right? Unfortunately though, despite what you may think, facts do suggest the obvious. Well, these traditional banks, they are susceptible to getting hacked, they are susceptible to bankruptcy. At the end of the day, they are another company that holds your funds. This private company, if they want to, they essentially have control over your hard-earned money. If they see some suspicious activity on your account, for example, they have the right to put a ban on your account. This is great, sure, because it offers a bit of protection and security, but why can't we just learn and protect our own money ourselves? Have you ever heard people talk about how, the rich just keep getting richer and the poor just keep getting poorer? A lot of people tend to mention this, but they don't actually understand why. Well, this is one of the fundamental reasons why banks have so much power over us financially. So long as the general masses and the general population continue to primarily use traditional banking services, we will always be pushed to the bottom of the table, so to speak. Now that I've spoken to you about how a centralized finance system works and given you an example, let's talk about now how a decentralized financial system of the present and the future, and what I like to call Finance 2.0, works. Let's keep things super simple. I'm going to use the exact same scenario. I want to send John $10. However, this time, instead of sending $10 worth in fiat money, I'm going to decide to send John $10 worth of Bitcoin, a decentralized international currency. Damn, I love banoffee cashew almonds. If you want to get me a present, then yeah, this is the one. My $10 exists through access via this Ledger hardware wallet, which I will leave a description in the link for below. If you do store cryptocurrency and you haven't got a Ledger hardware wallet, it is the most secure way to store your cryptocurrency, so I would highly recommend that you do pick one up. The $10 is sent from my private Bitcoin wallet, which I gain access to on the cloud through my Ledger, and I send that $10 worth of Bitcoin to John's Bitcoin wallet. What's the difference here, Earl, I hear you ask? So the difference is there is no intermediary, there is no third party required. The third party in this case being a bank. I have a private, secure Bitcoin bank at my disposal. I take control of my funds, and so does John. I can send my money quickly to John, and I don't need the third party to get involved. The transaction exists between me and John, rather than going from me to my bank, to John's bank, and into John's pocket. Makes sense? So what about this situation makes this decentralized versus centralized? Let me explain. Make sure you got your listening headphones on, because you might get a little confused and you may need to replay this a couple times, but I'm gonna try and explain it to you as simply as I possibly can. Now, as I mentioned before, the Finance 1.0 system, or in the Finance 1.0 system, bankers within the private banks verify the transaction between bank A to bank B, my bank to John's bank. Now, in Finance 2.0, I send $10 worth of Bitcoin from my Bitcoin wallet to John's Bitcoin wallet. Who verifies the transactions though? I'll tell you who. They're called Bitcoin miners. There are thousands of Bitcoin miners that exist all around the globe. They're essentially different types of pieces of hardware. They can range from laptops to be built within computers, or they can just exist on their own, and they come in different price ranges and they have different power output capabilities. So essentially what happens is these thousands of people around the world run these Bitcoin miners, this hardware, which basically go about their day and they solve mathematical complex algorithms, and by doing so they are able to verify the transaction between myself and John. So it's a decentralized system. If one of the servers or one of the connections of these Bitcoin miners goes down, there's always going to be something else or another miner that is going to come in and take its place. Now, based off this here, the Bitcoin miners who are first to solve the transaction between me and John get rewarded in Bitcoin. You might be wondering to yourself, okay Earl, that sounds pretty cool, but how reliable are these Bitcoin miners in ensuring that money gets from your account to John's account? Well, pretty reliable, to be honest. Bitcoin has been in existence since 2008, so around 10 years. In the first 4 years, the uptime of the blockchain network for Bitcoin was up and running at full capacity for 99.98% of the time. That is pretty astonishing for a new technology. And then for the last 6 years, as a matter of fact, it has been in uptime mode for 100%. That's impressive. In a nutshell, decentralized finance, or the fact that Bitcoin is decentralized, just gives you, as an average everyday individual, more control over your finances, more liquidity over your finances. You don't have to ask a bank permission to send money to your friend. The hard-earned money that you've worked for, why should you have to do that? You don't have to pay monthly banking fees or interest fees to your bankers. For what? To keep your money safe and secure? Sure, I get that it's safe and secure, but there's actually a way to do that on your own. It's through the ledger. Hold it on a private Bitcoin wallet and you're going to be safe and sound. Another really important point to make is that I've been talking about Bitcoin in this example, but any currency, any cryptocurrency essentially that runs on a blockchain, which all of them do, of course, can be sent in a decentralized manner. This is quite important to understand because if you're one of these people who is a bit more conservative and you don't want to or you can't hack the volatility of Bitcoin, instead of holding US dollars or Great British pounds in your account, you can hold the cryptocurrency equivalent of those fiat currencies and have them stored on the blockchain with high liquidity. To really summarize this video, I'm just going to briefly go over the main points again. A decentralized system allows for greater financial control of your money. It allows you to send money freely from peer to peer without you having to go through the third party of a bank. You don't need to go through the headaches of a bank. You don't have to pay bank fees. You don't have to wait a long time for your money to get to someone else's account, especially if they're abroad. You don't have to worry about the bank potentially locking up your funds. You don't have to worry about the bank going broke, because remember, if a bank's holding your cash and they go bankrupt and everyone goes to the bank at the same time and tries to withdraw that cash, that bank or your trusted bank is not going to have enough cash to give you when you ask to withdraw those funds. So what is the biggest risk here really? Make sure that if you don't know much about decentralized finance or Bitcoin, that you start learning. Watch a few of my other videos. I'll leave a couple good ones here for you to look at now. And if you want to know a little bit more about Bitcoin, I will leave a couple of links to two really great apps, one being Coinbase, and the other one being crypto.com. You can simply and easily purchase Bitcoin through these apps, and then after you do so, make sure you do pick up a ledger from the link in the description below and send that Bitcoin or that cryptocurrency to this ledger, which is super secure, after you set it up, and just get started on your decentralized finance, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it, journey today. Getting involved in Bitcoin and decentralized finance can be a massive step forward for you in taking much greater care of your financial future. We are in a really interesting time, ladies and gentlemen, where we sit right in the middle of a change from the Finance 1.0 system to the Finance 2.0 system. It is an unstoppable force. Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, cannot be stopped. There will be greater demand from the average population for cryptocurrencies in today's day and age and going into the future. Where are you going to position yourself strategically? What beliefs do you have? If you're an average person just like me who wants to take a bit more control of your finance and you want to take back a little bit of the monopoly that is being so heavily controlled by centralized banks all over the world, then Bitcoin and decentralized finance is the right call for you. It is so much more about just making a few dollars from investing or day trading. It's about a global movement, a global shift of mindset around the future of finance. make sure you do check out a few more of my other videos. And if you did enjoy the content today and you think, well, maybe I just might be even a bit of a cool guy, don't forget to like the video. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel by pressing on that little subscription button there, and make sure you do hit that notification bell to make sure when you know when new videos do drop out onto the channel. Thanks for joining me on the bag today, everyone, and peace out till next time. Cheers, viewers.